If your CVT transmission is starting to whine, hesitate, or slip, or maybe it's just due for a good old-fashioned fluid swap, you've landed in the right place. I've personally tested every product on this list in real-world conditions, and today I'm going to walk you through them. All the products I mentioned are linked in the description, so make sure to check those out if one catches your eye. Now let's begin. At number 10, we have the Redline Synthetic CVT fluid. From the moment I cracked the bottle, it was clear Redline took this formulation seriously. It pours a bit thicker than most fluids I've worked with, but that thickness translates to solid protection, especially under heat. I flushed this into a high-mileage Nissan Sentra that had started shuddering under light throttle. After a week of driving, that shudder disappeared completely. Acceleration became smoother and more responsive, particularly when moving from a dead stop. The thing I loved most was how cool the transmission stayed even during high-speed runs in hot weather. Compared to the Lucas Oil Synthetic CVT fluid, which I've included as number 1 on this list, Redline had slightly better thermal stability, but it came at a noticeably higher cost. The pros include superior shear stability, smooth shifting, and quiet operation. The cons include high price and limited availability. At number 9, we have Valvoline's CVT transmission fix. I tried this product in a mid-2000s Altima that had some minor seal seepage and slight whine. This is not a full fluid replacement. It's a stop leak additive meant to supplement your existing fluid. I was honestly skeptical at first, but it pleasantly surprised me. After about 4 days of regular driving, the slight weep around the pan gasket had reduced significantly. The whine was also quieter. This is great for people trying to extend the life of an aging CVT without doing a full fluid change. It doesn't transform your transmission, but it helps where it matters. Compared to the Castrol CVT transmission fluid, which I've included as number 8 on this list, Valvoline lacks long-term performance gains, but scores points for immediate impact. The pros include leak reduction, easy to use, and seal rejuvenation. The cons include slow effect and not full fluid. At number 8, we have the Valvoline MultiVehicle ATF. Now I know this is technically an automatic transmission fluid, but it has multi-vehicle compatibility, including many CVT systems. I ran it in a 2012 Outback that had been feeling a bit sluggish. Within a few miles, throttle response improved. It's formulated to resist oxidation and maintain viscosity under heat, and that showed during my test on a steep uphill stretch. Shifts stayed consistent and gear ratios felt tighter. Fuel economy even went up by about 1 mile per gallon. Compared to the Idamitsu CVT Type N transmission fluid, which I've included as number 7, the Valvoline MultiVehicle version held up better in long commutes, but didn't offer the same tight integration with Japanese CVTs. The pros include multi-brand compatibility, good thermal stability, and affordable price. The cons include mild shear and generic feel. At number 7, we have the Castrol CVT transmission fluid. I've always respected Castrol for their consistency and quality, and this CVT fluid was no different. I used it on a 2013 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, which was experiencing jerky starts. After swapping in Castrol CVT fluid, I noticed a near-instant improvement in how smoothly the car accelerated. No more hesitation, even in start and stop traffic. After 2 weeks, the RPMs stabilized better and stayed closer to the optimal range. Compared to the Valvoline CVT Full Synthetic, which I've included as number 6, Castrol's formula felt more comfortable in urban driving, but not as stable at higher loads. The pros include reduced noise, smooth shifts, and wear protection. The cons include somewhat high cost and modest availability. At number 6, we have Idamitsu CVT Type N transmission fluid. This one is the hidden gem of the list. It's used by several Japanese carmakers as factory fill, and for good reason. I poured this into a 2015 Subaru Crosstrek and was immediately impressed with how it restored the original drive feel. Cold starts were smoother, and the engine transmission communication felt more precise. It's engineered for superior anti-shudder durability, and that came through every time I pulled away from a stop. Compared to the Nissan Genuine CVT2 transmission fluid, which I've included as number 5, Idamitsu had slightly better long-term fluid stability in my test vehicle. The pros include OEM grade, stable viscosity, and precise shifts. The cons include price premium and only for certain models. At number 5, we have Valvoline CVT Full Synthetic. This was one of the smoothest experiences I had during testing. I used it on a high-mileage road, and the difference was night and day. It quieted down the transmission, improved fuel economy by nearly 2 miles per gallon, and made the throttle much more responsive. It also has anti-wear agents that held up very well under high load conditions. I pushed it hard with some hill climbs and heat cycling, and the consistency of shifting never dropped. Compared to Castrol Transmax Universal Transmission Fluid, which I've included as number 4, Valvoline gave a more refined drive but was slightly harder to find at local stores. The pros include full synthetic, fuel economy gain, and seamless cold shifts. The cons include price premium and limited stock at times. At number 4, we have the Nissan Genuine CVT2 transmission fluid. This is Nissan's own factory spec fluid, so if you have a Nissan CVT, this is your safest bet. I ran it through 2 vehicles, one with 60,000 miles, another with 120,000, and both felt instantly more cohesive. The transmission adapted better to driving conditions, and there was less drone during steady acceleration. It's expensive, but the peace of mind it gives is priceless. Compared to the genuine Honda CVT fluid, which I've included as number 3, Nissan's fluid was slightly better in extended heat conditions. The pros include factory spec, stable shifts, and known compatibility. The cons include mid-price and only for Nissan. At number 3, we have genuine Honda CVT fluid. There's a reason Honda fans swear by this stuff. I used it in a Civic and a Fit, and in both cars, I could feel the difference almost immediately. It felt like the computer and transmission were finally speaking the same language. Light throttle response was drastically better. You get smoother downshifts, more predictable upshifts, and less noise during acceleration. Compared to Castrol Transmax Universal, which I've included as number 2, Honda's fluid gave more precision but is vehicle-specific. The pros include OEM harmony, shudder reduction, and smooth native shifts. The cons include strictly Honda and mid-cost. At number 2, we have Castrol Transmax Universal Transmission Fluid. It is truly universal. This stuff is compatible with more CVTs than almost any other fluid on the market. I put it to the test in both a Dodge Caliber and a Nissan Versa. The Castrol Transmax gave solid shifting, stable temperatures, and no hint of noise or lag. It is a dependable choice if you're working on different vehicles. Compared to Lucas Oil Synthetic CVT transmission fluid, which I've included as number 1. Castrol is more accessible, but just a bit less refined. The pros include broad compatibility, shift consistency, and good thermal control. The cons include mild friction and generic flavor. At number 1, we have Lucas Oil Synthetic CVT transmission fluid. This is the fluid that exceeded my expectations on every front. I tested it in 2 different cars, a Subaru and a Nissan, and the results were consistently outstanding. Transmission noise dropped, shifts were glass smooth, and the fluid stayed clean after thousands of miles. It even made a noticeable difference in throttle sensitivity, especially at low speeds. Lucas Oil nailed the balance of viscosity, friction modifiers, and durability. Compared to Redline Synthetic CVT fluid, which I've included as number 10, Lucas offers equal smoothness at a better price point and greater availability. The pros include excellent smoothness, heat tolerance, and affordable price. The cons include niche brand and limited dealer network.